our next speaker, I got the privilege of picking her up at the airport. And when we left the airport, I took a wrong turn, so we took the long way back. But it happened to work out pretty good because I got to find out some things about her, about how she liked some of the architect, where she came from, some other stuff that I never really knew. And I get the blessing of actually picking up people from the airport and taking them back. And I tell you what, that is actually pretty awesome. Because if you think about it, some of you don't know, I never met her before, and it's a guy coming to pick her up in the airport. You know, that can go a lot of ways. But anyway, when I got to talk to Stevie, I thought it was just awesome. And I was able to take her down through Wayne and some other places. And if you know the area about the history and houses and all that stuff, I found out that was one of her things that she enjoys, her. So I think it's really awesome. And her message last night really hit home on a lot of points. I'm going to let her do that now again. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Awesome. Well, welcome, everybody. I'm so excited to be here. And I really do recommend Dr. Teresa. Everything, I don't know her really well. I'm looking forward to many years of getting to know her. But everything that I have seen is done with the spirit of excellence. And I really commend her to you and what she's doing. She's a great person to lock arms with. So, secondly, I would really appreciate your prayers while I'm speaking. I've kind of been under the weather for the last 3 or 4 days. And it seemed I get better, and then I kind of start dragging and stuff, so I'd appreciate your prayers. I don't know if you've ever heard of Heidi Baker and her stories, but there's one story where she was really deathly ill, and she just kept doing the things she was called to do. And one day as she got up, and she could barely get up to speak, she was healed as she stood up to speak. And so I'm contending for that today, that I will also be strengthened and healed as I am speaking. Thank you, thank you. If you might have in front of you just a piece of note paper. It says Micromedia, Kingdom Influence, and the Power of Social Media. If you need one, let us know. If you're fine, great. Also, I have business cards. You don't have one? Are there any more? Are there any extras anywhere around for Patty here?
They're also in the bag.
They're also in the, oh, they're in the bag.
They're in the purple bag.
Okay, great. I'm not sure if this one is in.
No, it's
Yeah.
on the table.
Okay, but the business cards are in the bag too. Okay, great. I'm gonna start my timer. Okay, so we're going to get started. My goal today is to educate and to activate you to choose to use the powerful leverage of social media and micromedia marketing. I'll explain to you what that is, and to do it well, or to hire my company to do it for you. So my question, I've got a few questions for you. Who currently uses social media for the advancement of their business, their ministry, their cause, or idea? Who is currently using it? Okay, about half of you. Who feels like they do it pretty well currently? Okay. Fewer people than okay, great. And who is trying to use it or would like to but feels confused or overwhelmed and doesn't really know where to start? Okay, great. Okay, well then this is the right talk. And for the rest of you, I hope you'll find something. Okay, so before we begin, I do want to tell you that I did bring a couple flyers with me. They are not in your bag, but they are at my table. It's a 2-page flyer. Pardon me? Sure. And you can just so that you know, if it might be the right offer for a few of you, it's probably not the right offer for most of you, but I want you to know what is available and what I put together for this event. There are a few other things. The newsletter, at the bottom of my business card, there is the address to go to subscribe to the newsletter. Now, the newsletter is called Kingdom Influence Connection, and the goal of that newsletter is to connect you with events all over the world that are focused on kingdom business, that are going to equip you, equip your friends, equip your relatives all over the world to advance God's kingdom. So there's some amazing events going on, and that newsletter will keep you up to date with what's going on. It also will tell you about great videos, great courses that are available, articles on the topics of kingdom business and marketing and personal development from a kingdom perspective, all sorts of things that are really going to help equip the kingdom entrepreneur. In my mind, my goal is kind of, if you know the Elijah list, it's kind of like to become the Elijah list for kingdom business specifically. So I think we've got some great things. Years ago, when I first heard about kingdom business, I loved the fact that people were, releasing that spirit of poverty and lack, and they were realizing that business was not a secondary calling, that it was just as important as being and just as spiritual as being a pastor, a missionary, evangelist, or whatever. But I found that there was a lot of equipping that was lacking in practical sense. There was a lot of philosophy, and I love philosophy. Yesterday was all about mindset and having a specific perspective, but we also need some practical equipping. And so that's kind of what I feel like I'm gathering together, is recommending the best trainers, the best thought leaders out there to equip you in that. So there's the newsletter. On the flyer, you'll see there's group coaching. I have a marketing agency as well. I have a team that helps me with that. So if any of that fits you, please talk to me afterwards. Okay, so my story, I mentioned it a little bit yesterday. When I first came to America, I speak English, I sound American. Most of the time I kind of look American, act American. But when you come from another country and you've been raised full-time in another country, we're called third culture kids. And they're kind of people who don't fit really in either culture that they're immersed in most of the time. And so when I came to America, there were so many unwritten rules that I violated all the time. And I couldn't figure out what was wrong. I knew something was wrong. Sometimes your gut just tells you, whoops, I did, they didn't like whatever that was that I did, I'll give you an example. This is not something I did, but for example, if you go to somebody's house in France, they're not going to show you through their house. You're going to stay in their living room probably, maybe go in their kitchen, not likely, but possible, and they'll have a little bathroom that's connected to the living room. But you're not going to go any further. In America, people want to show you their home. They're not bragging. They're being hospitable, So it's just a very different perspective. And so each culture has its unwritten rules, and when you violate them, you kind of figure it out by people's expressions. But for me, it really took a long time. And there were a lot of things that I just didn't understand, how to connect with people, what the rules were for, wanting to get together for tea or coffee, or really how to develop relationships. And what I found over the years, in my mid-20s, I started getting involved in online marketing and forums, and I found, and I mentioned yesterday, that I was involved in forums that were related to homeschooling. Well, that particular interest got me into social media, and it was actually through social media that I learned a lot of the unwritten rules that you have here. And of course, every state is different. There's subcultures everywhere. If you go to Dallas, it's going to be very different from here or from Denver or New York or LA. But those kinds of, I was able to kind of be really steeped in to these conversations where there was quick back and forth on somebody else's, whenever you had time. It was, you didn't have to do it any particular time. You could just go, dip in, see what was going on, and then log off. But I got so much from it, and that's really what got me involved. And so I found that it taught me so much about the unwritten rules of culture that eventually, as I started getting into marketing, I started learning the unwritten rules of marketing. Because marketing is really just all about human interaction. How do people actually make buying decisions? How do we persuade them about our ideas? If you're doing evangelism, what is it that not only the power of the Holy Spirit, but how can we present things in a way that's compelling, that's clear? And so these forums, these connections that I made, watching how sales were done online, doing sales online, creating those connections and networking with people online in ways that I really would not have had access to offline, I started seeing the power of it. And so, I had a kingdom business, but I just didn't have a lot of training, and that kind of was on-the-job training as I developed. And so, as we move into this newsletter, and it's just like a month old, That's kind of going to be the basis for things. And then we've got a whole launch plan. There'll be books down the road. And so I'm really hoping that this is going to infuse into others what God has infused into me in this whole process. So in this presentation, I'm going to talk about why social media matters. I'm going to give you some platform statistics for really the ones that are the most important, I think, right now. I'm going to talk to you about how we respond to repeated exposure and to video. Changes in ad spend in social media, and you may not think that's relevant to you, but at some point you may think that actually advertising in these platforms, which can be very inexpensive if you do it right, might be an option for you. We're going to talk about the big picture when marketing online, risk versus benefit, how online marketing works. I'm going to introduce you to a concept that I've coined micro-media marketing. I'm going to talk about keys to success in social media and where to start.
Awesome.
So first of all, why does social media matter? One of the things that whether you are in what we call full-time ministry, or if you're in business, or you're promoting a nonprofit organization, or a product, or a service, the worldwide reach that you have with social media and online marketing is extraordinary. And the fact that you can reach people 24/7 while you're sleeping is amazing. That is leverage. And you're going to hear the word leverage many times. I really believe that leverage is really an important part of this whole concept of multiplication. And the kingdom is all about multiplication and expansion. So I'm going to compare social media platforms kind of to formal business networking. For example, LinkedIn is kind of like a formal business networking group, okay? Twitter might be more like a party, you know, or Twitter, Snapchat, YouTube, in the comments in YouTube is really where the community happens. They're kind of like a party. Facebook is more like a backyard grill get-together. So if you think of these a little bit differently, you know how you dress differently for those different events. You present yourself differently for these different events. And so really you have to be thinking about that. And there is content that you can post cross-platform, but not all content really can go cross-platform. So first of all, platform statistics. On Facebook, I think this is pretty amazing. Worldwide, there are over almost 2.4 billion monthly active users as of March this year. Okay, almost 2.4. It's 2.38 billion monthly active users. Okay, 1.56, so about 1.5 billion people on average log onto Facebook daily, and they're considered daily active users. On average, the like and share buttons are viewed across almost 10 million websites daily. You know, they have plugins that you can add to your website. And that's also a cool thing. If you use the Facebook plugins for, let's say, for a WordPress site, that's usually where they're used. You can also integrate some coding that Facebook gives you if you're an advertiser. And so when people visit your site, they are cookied. And you may not like that as a consumer, but as a marketer, it's amazing. Because then your ads kind of follow people around the internet. I don't know if you've ever been on Facebook and you look at a particular ad, then you go to somebody's website and you see the same ad, and you go, how did they know? And you go somewhere else. So, yeah, they're prophetic. That's what it is. Yeah, no, it's the coding, that they put on the cooking that they do for you. So, in Europe, over 307 million people are on Facebook. Age 25 to 34, at almost 30% of users, that's the most common age demographic. That's 29 to 34. But the fact is that really all ages are represented on Facebook. More than 3.5 billion Facebook Lives since Facebook Live was launched have been viewed. 3.5 billion Facebook Lives. Over 2 billion people have watched Facebook Lives. That's pretty amazing. Okay, so LinkedIn, so we go from Facebook where we had almost 4 billion monthly active users. LinkedIn has 590 million users. So that's a big difference, but it's a completely different audience, okay? Now, there are a lot of people who are on both. but it is more business oriented, higher income. There's really a changing demographic lately. You'll find that LinkedIn is less what I think is kind of stuffy. I didn't use it much because I found it kind of stuffy. If it felt like if you weren't a corporate 9-to-5 person, if you weren't in HR or a headhunter, that there really wasn't a place for you. But that really is changing, and there is more variety, more diversity on the LinkedIn platform now. So it's a little bit less corporate. They're just now starting live video. And yeah, so if you know anything about live video, even if you're scared, start now. Start now when the platforms are kind of wonky. When they first start it, there's all sorts of things that happen. Go ahead and just start now, because it's fine that it'll be wonky. People expect you to be kind of wonky. So it's fine that that you might not be polished or whatever. Go ahead and jump in. More than 70% of LinkedIn users are from outside of the US. Let's see, 61 million LinkedIn users are senior level influencers, and 40 million are in decision-making positions. 40, that's amazing. We don't think of the power of these things. I mean, if you just jump on and you're consuming content, you don't understand that you are the product. Your eyeballs are the product for all of these companies. And really, their client is the advertiser. And so when we're looking at it from a consumer perspective, the experience feels very different than it does from an advertiser or from a producing perspective. 40 million students and recent college graduates are on LinkedIn. There are 56% male users and 44% female users on LinkedIn. After the US, India, Brazil, Great Britain, and Canada have the highest number of LinkedIn users. 13% of millennials, 15 to 34-year-olds, use LinkedIn. Now, I was surprised that it was that high, 13% of millennials. There are 87 million millennials on LinkedIn, with 11 million in decision-making positions. 28% of all internet male users use LinkedIn, whereas 27% of all internet female users use LinkedIn. 44% of LinkedIn users earn more than $75,000 a year. That is a significant figure. If you are selling something that's more than $5, if you're selling something that has a decently high price tag, and it's geared towards those people, that's an excellent place to market, because that's a huge difference in demographic from a lot of other places. Yes, 44% of LinkedIn users earn more than $75,000 a year. That's significant. Yeah. No, I think it's actually going to heat up more, especially as they're changing. They're attracting a different demographic, so there's going to be more diversity. And as video starts, and people are starting to post different content instead of just, we're looking to hire an employee, or I'm looking for a job. It's kind of changing. So LinkedIn, there are over 39 million students and recent grads. I think I mentioned that. LinkedIn is the #1 B2B channel that marketers use to distribute content at 94%. Of 500 million users, just 3 million users share content weekly. So you think about the fact that on Facebook, I think most people share some content. On LinkedIn, only 3 million out of the 500 million users are sharing content. So there's a tremendous opportunity for you if you'll jump in. The world is hungry for excellence. So LinkedIn makes up more than 50% of all social traffic to B2B websites and blogs. 50%. 91% of marketing executives list LinkedIn as the top place to find quality content. 92% of B2B marketers include LinkedIn in their digital marketing mix. Oh, sorry, business to business. So, sorry, not B2C, business to consumer, but B2B. So, and you do see a lot more business to business marketing on LinkedIn than you do business to consumer, although that is changing. And all of these platforms have paid advertising opportunities. And you may not be able to afford a Super Bowl ad, but you can probably afford a YouTube ad or an Instagram ad or a Facebook ad, and if you do it right, it's incredible leverage. Instagram, I've got Instagram and YouTube I also want to go over. So Instagram has 1 billion people who use Instagram every month. 88% of users are outside the US. 71% of Instagram users around the globe are under the age of 35. If you have a young demographic that you're trying to appeal to, Instagram really is the place. 72% of US teens use Instagram. 72% of US teens. 95% of US Instagrammers use YouTube. 35% of online adults use Instagram. Under 25-year-olds use Instagram 32 minutes a day. And 500 million people use stories every day, up from 300 million in October of 2017, so just a year and a half ago. There's an 80% increase year by year for video on Instagram. That's amazing. 71% of US businesses use Instagram. Would you have thought it was that high? I was kind of surprised. 25 million business profiles and over 200 million users visiting at least one business profile every day, from clothing to concerts, lingerie to linguini, and it includes fashion brands, skincare. 96% of them are on Instagram. 2 million monthly advertisers on Instagram. Can you imagine managing that? 2 million monthly advertisers. 60% of users discover products on Instagram. 75% of users take action like visiting a website after looking at a brand's post. Instagram has 2.2 interaction rate, dwarfing the other networks. Now that doesn't sound like much, but in direct response marketing, like let's say you're doing a direct mailer, 1% is extraordinary, okay? So Instagram has 2.2% interaction rate, dwarfing the other networks, including Facebook, with its 0.22% rate of interaction. So Instagram really is the engagement king. So it all depends on what you're doing and who you're targeting. 50% of businesses on Instagram have produced a story. 50% of Instagrammers follow brands, making them the social networkers who are most likely to do so. So YouTube. YouTube has 1.9 billion logged in users visiting YouTube every month. That's half the internet. And every day they watch 1 billion hours of video. 1 billion hours every day. That's wild. 96% of 18 to 24-year-old American internet users use YouTube. Half of American internet users age 75 and over use YouTube. YouTube works in 80 different languages, and only 15.8% of YouTube's visitors are Americans. You think about the fact that we have an incredible opportunity as believers to reach the world. There are countries where certain platforms are blocked or censored, but right now we still have tremendous opportunity throughout most of the world to reach people for our products, services, causes, ideas, and to reach the lost. So Americans visit the site in largest numbers, followed by residents of India, Japan, Russia, and China. China, go figure, has really a lot of censorship. YouTube is the second most visited website in existence, according to Alexa, which analyzes visitors. 70% of views are on mobile. And so you really need to be thinking of mobile. I don't know how many of you consume primarily on mobile, but I find that I do. Yeah. So, some sites are much easier to use on mobile. So, Wi-Fi and, all the bad EMFs aside, we actually do use a lot of mobile. So 70% of views are on mobile. YouTube reaches more American 18 to 34-year-olds than any TV network. Let me repeat that. YouTube reaches more American 18 to 34-year-olds than any TV network. YouTube provides almost half of all on-demand music. 70% of millennial YouTube users watched a video to learn how to do something new last year. I remember 10 years ago, I'd never used a French press coffee maker, and I wanted to, I'd never used those. And so I learned by watching a YouTube video from an 11-year-old boy. It's amazing.
My daughter just taught herself how to knit.
Yeah.
She made a scarf.
You can, to learn to knit, cook, anything you want to learn, it's amazing. So it's an incredible, and you think these people who are just making content that are not leading to any particular link, don't feel sorry for them. These people often are paid by the view, and it takes a lot of views to make significant money, but sometimes just creating great content is all it takes to make money online. Let's see where I was. The top 10, the top 10 YouTube stars earned 42% more money in 2018. So Forbes estimates that these top 10, there's 9 men and 1 boy in this top 10, they earned $180.5 million in 2018. And this little boy, I'm pretty sure it's the one who does toy reviews. He is, I can't remember how old he is, like 6 or something, but I mean, it's crazy, millionaire, okay? So with YouTube growing its own species of celebrity, the potential for non-traditional marketing with macro or micro influencers also expand. And that's on top of potential audience reach. You can actually hire people who have large audiences to promote something for you. And it's amazing. You can just message them and ask them how much they charge for a post. So if you've got somebody who has your ideal audience and you want to connect with them, there are so many different ways to do joint ventures or to have them promote your things. People have watched 50,000 years of product review videos. Since 2016, twice as many small and medium-sized businesses are advertising on YouTube. And YouTube mobile ads receive viewer attention 83% of the time. That's huge. I mean, when you're in advertising, you're glad to get any attention. So that's huge, 95% of YouTube ads are audible. For comparison, only 15% of video ads are audible. In other words, people don't even turn on the ad. So if you're doing an ad like a video ad, you want to have the captioning underneath, because on Facebook, only 15% of people enable the audio. They're watching them, just reading what it says underneath, which is wild. So, but 95% of the YouTube ads are, people are listening to them. So when ads are audible and viewable, Google documents a sizable lift in brand awareness and recall and consideration. YouTube doubled the number of pre-roll ads it shows. I found this, it said, as of November 2018, YouTube is feeding audiences ad pods, 2 commercials per break at the beginning and or the middle of a video. So it says this will initially apply only to browser viewing, but it's actually already rolled out in now. So, and there are a lot of people like me who subscribe to YouTube Red, where you don't see any of the videos. I mean, any of the commercials. So I don't usually see the commercials unless a YouTube content creator included the video, included an ad in their own video, like they'll do an ad for their own product or service. So I'm still going to see that, but I'm not going to see any from the YouTube network. But there are a lot of people, most people don't have YouTube Red. I think it's like $12.95 a month, and I use it not only because I don't particularly want the ads, although I'd like an option to turn that off so that I could see what other people are advertising, and sometimes I do want to see the ads. But the other thing is that they have a variable speed player that you can use on YouTube, and I like to watch things at like 1.5 times speed or 2. I get a lot of training and content and ministry really from YouTube. It's really a big source. I spend a lot of time there, actually. So I want to talk about how we respond to repeated exposure and to video. There's a saying that marketers have that it takes 7 to 13 touches to convert to a sale, or even to get people to subscribe to your free information. So 7 to 13 touches. So we're talking about the necessity of having a consistent content and becoming top of mind through not only the quality of your content, but the quantity of your content. You think about the movie star celebrity factor. We think of the Kardashians, Paris Hilton, Donald Trump in The Apprentice before he became president, local TV news, Facebook Live and webinar presenters, YouTube and Instagram stars. When you consume, if you consume any of these people on a regular basis, you know that after a while you feel like you know them. If you were to see them, walking down the hallway, you feel like, oh, my good buddy, Kevin Zadai, or whoever your favorite evangelist or teacher or coach is. You feel like you know them. Now, if you go up to them, they might wonder, who you are if you go up and hug them. But that is an incredible advantage to them because that connects you. Whenever you give somebody an aha moment online, and the more aha moments you give them, the more you are tying heartstrings to them. So if you'll think about doing that, it's the same thing as we try to do with our kids. We try to tie heartstrings to our kids through events, through things that, encouragement and different things. Really, it's the same thing in marketing where we're trying to do that repeated exposure. And really, it's human nature. And so if you're a consumer, you may not like the fact that, that people, because of the algorithms, they know what you like. They're going to advertise the things that you like. But for the marketer, although you probably tend to buy more things because they are targeting really what you want more, but it really is human nature to get that know, like, and trust factor accelerated when we have these repeated encounters with people, but particularly with video. So there are also a lot of changes to marketing and ad spend on the social media platforms. According to eMarketer's U.S. social trends for 2019, social ad spending was predicted to increase by 19% this year, an estimated total of $37 billion in ad spend. To put this into perspective, they note that this will bring social ad spending to nearly 50% of TV ad spending this year. Now, I believe that actually has been surpassed. I think this, like in the last, 6 months or 8 months, that social media ad spend surpassed TV ad spend. So that's a huge difference, But you think about the fact that when you're watching TV now, it's a little bit different with digital compared to analog, because with digital, they really can track a little more your viewing habits. But they still can't send something at this point. They can't really send something to your TV the way you can in social media. They can send something to you kind of specifically based on your demographics and the things that you've watched. So I want you, as I'm talking about this, I want you to think about your experience, how you've experienced this, but then I also want you to apply this to whatever it is that God's put on your heart. So there's the big picture when marketing online. I want to talk about risk versus benefit. These are things that I wish I had known 15 years ago when I was starting. These are all things that I had to learn from experience. Risk versus benefit. There are industry regulations. If you are in financial services, you are limited to what you can say online. If you are an affiliate marketer, if you sell products online, for example, if you are a blogger and you get paid by Tide to promote their products, you are required by law, at least in the United States, you are required to have a disclaimer somewhere on your blog that says that these affiliate links, that you could benefit from them. Now, of course, people aren't going to pay more, but you're supposed to disclose that you're going to that you could make profit. Yes?
Could you explain that a little more, because I've never understood affiliate links?
Okay.
Could you just elaborate?
Absolutely.
A little bit?
Yes, so affiliate links are coded links. Let's say, for example, Dr. Teresa, you decided everybody who belongs to Destiny Arising is going to start promoting the site and promoting the membership. You could develop a system. There are easy platforms to use where they can become an affiliate, and you could give them prizes, discounts to courses, or whatever, based on, let's say, how many people they refer to your site. And so they get a special coded link, and when they share that coded link and somebody visits it, in the back office of your affiliate management system, it shows how many, how many visits that particular affiliate brought to the site. And so you can track, you can reward that kind of behavior. Or for the example of where I have sold a lot of marketing training courses and personal development courses. When I send somebody to that link, it's tracked, and when the sale is made, I get a percentage, anywhere from 30% to as much as 50%. I will get that. So in high ticket sales, which is really what I have focused on, I'll sell products generally from $1,000 to $5,000, and I will make generally anywhere between 40 and 50% will be my affiliate commission. And because these products are delivered digitally for the person who owns the rights to this product, it's incredible because you now have an army of salespeople It doesn't cost you a whole lot, except maybe a little bit more bandwidth when they're sending you more traffic, but you are getting this extra traffic and extra sales that you would otherwise not have access to. So it's amazing to be able to assemble this affiliate army for yourself, and there are great systems. There are great systems out there that have affiliate tracking systems. I work with ClickFunnels is the system, and please do use my affiliate link because it'll buy me a cup of coffee or whatever. But ClickFunnels is great. Not only will it help you create sales funnels, but they do have a fairly easy to use affiliate management system so that you can create your own affiliate programs. So
I'm
that,
gonna ask you a question.
yeah,
I'm
go
just
for it.
gonna interrupt and ask
Sure.
you questions 'cause I wanna know.
Please, yes.
Don't be afraid to do this, people.
Yeah, please do, because this is a great time to do it.
This is a great time to, let's say my skincare.
Mm-hmm.
I wanna put my skincare out there. Can I put an affiliate link on your site for my skincare?
You can if I agree to it.
No, but I mean, is
Yes.
that-
Oh, yes, absolutely. That's done all the time. So you can get bloggers, you can get like fashion bloggers to do that. Instagram influencers who are into skincare, natural skincare lines. You can get them to promote for you.
All right, let me ask you this now. My son told me, he said, Mom, take your Instagram account and every now and then put some stuff up that you like about yourself, but put your skincare on there.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden, now tell me what this means, but all of a sudden I have all these skincare companies are now following me.
Okay, there could be a couple different reasons for that.
Okay.
One is people use automated software,
Okay.
and the automated software finds people like you, so like your account. So you could be being added by bots. If they're kind of high-end companies, they're probably using automated software to do that, and so that could be. Or it could be that they just want to connect with other owners of skincare companies and maybe do joint ventures down the road. Sometimes you find that co-opetition, excuse me, that co-opetition, where you have friendly, competition, is better than direct competition. It depends. If you've got a skincare line, you might want to have, a joint venture with maybe a wig line or a hair care line. Thank you. So there are all sorts of different ways to do this. Excuse me, just a second. Let me do the water thing. So there are a lot of different ways to do joint ventures and to do affiliate programs. So they're kind of different things. And you can also do sponsorship. And you can advertise. So there are a lot of different ways to get the word out about your product or service. So I did mention industry regulations, that there are industry regulations, and please do go ahead and interrupt me if you do have a specific question, and I will take questions at the end as well. Industry regulations, so it depends on your industry. Most of you in here are not part of a regulated industry like banking or financial services and investing, but those are regulated by the SEC, and people have to be very careful, and FTC, and people have to be careful. But I would say if you do belong to that, if you are, let's say, in insurance, it's really important, or real estate, or mortgage brokering, okay? You need to find out the rules, but then use that. It's amazing the leverage that people are getting as mortgage brokers, as real estate agents, as all these different things, that the leverage that they're getting from being online is extraordinary. So don't be afraid of the fact that there's regulation. Just find out what it is and go ahead and use it. Some people are afraid of the permanency of internet postings. The reality is, whatever you post online, it's somewhere forever. That's it, okay? So that is both good and bad. If you're in your wild teenage years and you're posting dumb stuff, good luck ever getting it off. It might not, And so we have to teach our kids to be really thinking ahead 10 years about what they post online.
And I can tell you, I do get involved with some higher level recruiting for a company. I will stalk you.
Yep, absolutely.
I will also check the other thing, make sure, this is for adults in the room, because I don't think any of us are probably posting too much crazy selfies out there, but I will also check and validate where you posted a resume here, you posted a resume there. your bio here, your bio there, to make sure that it's the same story.
Right,
Ah,
exactly.
good.
So it's amazing when you think about the power of when somebody wants to check you out, they have lots of places to go now to check you out. And so you want to make sure that you have that consistent presence online. So that permanency of your posting, the permanency of your presence, you can change. So, on one hand, it's all permanent, pretty much. You got to think of it as potentially permanent. But you also have to realize, start where you are. I remember several years back, I really wasn't sure what direction I was going, and I was afraid to get started because I knew about the permanency of these things. I was kind of afraid that I'd pigeonhole myself. But the problem was that was paralyzing me, and I just didn't do anything because I wasn't sure, well, is that the direction where I'm going? Oh, God, what do you want me to do? Sometimes we get, paralysis from analysis, and we don't just start moving. You can't shift, you can't change the direction of a parked car. It's very difficult. You got to be moving, you got to be in motion. So don't let that fear overwhelm you. So the other thing is people have heard stories of people being banned on YouTube, being censored and all that. There is an impermanence and a risk to your ability to use social media platforms. People do get banned for crazy reasons. I have a friend, this is about 10 years ago, who had about 250 videos on YouTube. They were wonderful videos. They were about, business stuff. I think she was in network marketing, but she did it in a wonderful way. She was not spammy, but competitors found her stuff, and they started flagging all of it. And back then, it was harder to appeal when YouTube shut you down. Now you can appeal a little more easily. You may or may not get it back, but back then you couldn't. And so she lost, she had 250 videos. She had not backed them up. And not only that, but she had embedded them in her blog from YouTube. So now all of a sudden her blog with, hundreds of blog posts has all these things. It's, and the video player, I think, says, this account is no longer active or something like that, So that's not very professional presence. So there are these things that can happen. And I don't recommend generally embedding a YouTube video in your website. I recommend using a paid service like Vimeo or Wistia or something else and not using a service that you're not paying for. Because when you're getting a free service, you are the product, okay? And you can be terminated at any time. It's much harder for them to turn you down if you have a paid service. Wistia is Wistia. Wistia and Vimeo are kind of my two favorites right now. Vimeo is really good. They've got a great player. But you can upload your video to their service, and then they have a player that you can embed in your website. And what I like about Vimeo specifically is they do have a variable speed player that you can just check the box. And so when people come to your site, if they're like me and they're irritated at having to watch at just regular speed, then they can just speed it up and watch it however they want. And I really appreciate that. So I would recommend doing that, generally speaking. So people are afraid of that, and so there are a couple things. You realize that it can happen. So you build a presence, let's say, on a social media platform, and at some point, maybe a competitor flags you, maybe the social media platform itself doesn't like your content, and it shuts you down. Those are possibilities. But I think to limit and to not go full force while you have the opportunity is silly, because this is leverage like nothing else. There is no other platform. Your own platform, unless you are great at search engine optimization, SEO, and unless you have probably a full-time person nowadays to do your SEO, you're not coming up very far in the algorithm when somebody searches for you. And so really it is social media that is spreading the word about your product, service, cause, or idea. And so I really suggest just don't think about those things, because it's just wasted energy. Just put your best effort into it. Realize that most people don't get shut down. And I'll tell you, even people who think that they're being censored by Facebook, and it does happen for real. But a lot of people don't understand that, a friend was telling me the other day, I think Facebook is censoring me because, whenever I post something that could benefit me, they limit my reach. Well, that's because they were posting links in the post. If you post links in the post, Facebook wants you to stay on Facebook. And so they automatically are going to limit your reach. So that is not censorship, that's Facebook's priorities. Okay, so we have to kind of not get, I believe there's censorship. So, that's fine. We can bellyache about it. It may or may not ever change. But you still need to use it wisely and learn how to use it and find out if you're really being censored or if you just don't yet, have the information that you need to get the reach that you want. Also, paying makes a difference in your reach. So we also have a fear of doing it wrong. People are afraid that they're not going to do it right, and so they don't do it at all. And really, social media is very forgiving. I've sent some doozies in the past in forums. I said some dumb stuff, and when you apologize, you'll find that most of the time people go, oh, well, of course, If you just insist and dig down, deeper, then that can create problems. But most of the time, people are kind of glad to see that you've got flaws too. And that's really just fine. There's not a problem with a public apology for saying something. I've had conversations where I just got a little bit too heated, and I was right, and I just kept going when I needed to put the brakes on. And I've had to apologize and sometimes delete a post. And again, it may not be actually deleted, but it's deleted, from where I'm seeing it. So it's good enough. One last thing on risks versus benefits. And this is something that I would really only say to a group like this, okay? So there's artificial intelligence, and it is going to take a more prominent place over time. It is increasingly happening, and I'm going to talk about it a little further. I'm going to talk about the actual impact of it. But people are a little bit afraid of artificial intelligence, and they're afraid of persecution. And we know in China already people are getting those social scores, and they are being actually vetted or not for jobs, for education, for college entry, for different things like that. And it's kind of happening a little bit here informally, like Joy was saying. If you're looking at somebody for employment, obviously you're going to pick somebody who doesn't look like a knucklehead online, right? So it does matter, but we can kind of get into this catastrophic mindset where we are, waiting for the Antichrist to show up and, chop off our heads today, and we're afraid that, and therefore we don't post, we don't share our lives, we don't leverage what we could, because we're afraid of what's coming down the pike or what could be coming down the pike. Now, people have different theories about what's coming down the pike. But our ability now to influence culture is open. We have a window right now that we may or may not have 5, 10 years down the road. So now is the time to do whatever God has called us to do. And you need to do it with wisdom. Okay, so, wisdom and grace and courtesy and honor. But right now is the time when we can get the word out about so many different things. I don't know if you've seen, and I haven't seen it lately, but I'm pretty sure they still do a lot. But there's a website called I Am Second. Have you ever seen it? Wonderful. IamSecond.com, I think. And it's all about testimonies of people really encountering God and how that changed their lives. It was wonderful. And I came across it through Facebook. And they do an amazing work. There's so many different ministries that are getting the work out about, different things. Ministries to homosexuals, ministries to veterans, ministries to, all sorts of different people who have different needs. And those are really reaching the right people because one of the powers of Facebook is that algorithm, the thing that people are so afraid is going to invade their privacy, and it does. That is the very thing that allows us to reach people, allows us to reach the right people. Your Facebook feed may be full of people who are like you. Increasingly it's kind of an echo chamber, but things do get through, okay? And so I remember during the elections, I'll just give my personal opinion, I was very anti-Trump. And when I saw that some believers were coming out supporting him, I'm going, great. We've been tricked again, because I felt like President Bush was perhaps not exactly everything we thought he was. And I felt, in retrospect, that I was sorry to have voted for him for some reasons. And so I felt like, here we've been tricked again. We think, this is going to be a good man, and, he's going to support evangelicals and all these different things, and we've been tricked again. And I started seeing Lance Wallnau post on that. And I started thinking, well, I have tremendous respect for Lance Wallnau. And at first I was like so mad. I'm going, oh, how could he possibly support this vile man? I had my ideas. So regardless of whether you like him or not, I'll tell you that influenced me. And actually, I ended up voting for him and being very grateful to be able to vote for him. So we're talking about, in this instance, okay, a very opposite viewpoint, but in other topics, Lance and I are very much on the same page. So maybe I wouldn't have seen it. Maybe I wouldn't have seen those posts if they were pro-Trump, but it wasn't somebody where we had other things in common, But that we did have enough in common. And so don't underestimate your ability to change people's minds and to influence people. And we're not in control of how people respond. Okay, but we are responsible for the things that we put out. And I don't think you need to feel guilty about, not posting or posting. I do think you need to be judicious in what you share. You really need to be thinking about whether this advances what God has called you to do. You may have an opinion about something. That doesn't mean you should share it. And you're not being disloyal to God or disloyal to conservatives or liberals, whatever party you're with. You're not disloyal if you don't post on that thing. If somebody shares, sends you via private message, this thing, and it says, share if you really love Jesus, that doesn't mean you don't love Jesus if you don't share it. Okay? Right, it's the chain letters. I don't do any of those. So, and sometimes I explain it, sometimes I just delete them. So, okay, so briefly I want to tell you about how online marketing works. And I want you to see, when you watch this, it's, most of you have experienced this, but most of you don't know the process that you're being brought through. So, let me see here. So basically, I really recommend these days you don't actually need to have a website. That'll shock you. But you don't need to have a website. What you do need is a sales funnel. So a website really is a static brochure. It may or may not have articles. It may or may not have blog posts. And those are all great. And I'm not saying not to have them. They will always increase your credibility. So they are a good thing to have. But if you're not at the level yet where you've got the time to do it, start with a sales funnel. Because a sales funnel is going to help you leverage and start getting you into a profitable position. And as a business owner, that's your job. That's your first job. So start with a sales funnel. And so you're going to start seeing, like if you go to the URL on the bottom of my little square business card, you're going to see that actually leads into a sales funnel. That's not a website. I don't even have a website up right now. I won't even have one for another few months. So, and I'm not worried about that. I really want to practice and demonstrate what I believe so that people are not overwhelmed by, I got to create this grandiose thing. Just get something up and get people into the funnel so that they can start being exposed to what you do. So first of all, you have I'm going to put this right here. You've got a page, okay, with some information, blah, 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 okay, and then they've got a little box here for your email, your name and your email address, okay? So that's where it starts. When you subscribe, that takes you to a thank you page of some kind. This is generally how it is, okay? So this is the thank you page. My thank you page currently is used to tell people to go check their email because I am trying to train people to check their email. So you could require what's called a double opt-in, which means that people, they subscribe here and then they have to, when they go through, it'll say, that you have to go and confirm. I tell them they have to go to their email, but they do not have to confirm. You actually will lose a lot of potential subscribers by making people double opt-in. But I don't give them whatever I told them I was going to give them on this page. I don't actually deliver it on this page. Now, you can do it that way. If you're, there are some sales funnels where you're explaining it here, you got a video here, they opt in, and then here you're going to have another video going more in depth and an opportunity to buy. That's fine too. But kind of the starter model that I'm giving you, the thanks page is actually taking them back to go check their email inbox because I want them to read the emails. Now, the reality is I don't read my emails. If you want to email me, please send me a message on Facebook. I get too many emails. And so the best way to get me is through Facebook. And even if you want to send me an email, message me on Facebook first, and then I'll go check my email, and I'll probably catch it. But otherwise, I'll probably miss it. But most people use email a lot more than those of us who don't use email would think. So it is still an incredible thing. And what you're doing when you create these kinds of pages, you are creating a business asset. You're creating one of the most important business assets you could have. Whether or not you ever sell your company down the road, it is a business asset that actually can be monetized, okay? So you've got this, you've got the opt-in page to the thank you page, and then you're sending them back to, for example, to email, and let's say you gave them a free report on something. That email, they'll click on it, and then they'll go to a page where they're going to download. Okay, download. So they're going to download whatever it was that you promised there, okay? And so that could be a free thing. It could be, a paid thing if you made them pay first, whatever it is. So you're going to see this pattern whenever you go to somebody's website. A lot of times you're going to see that this is what they're doing. Now that you know, this is probably the simplest thing to do. If you're doing a high-ticket sales funnel where you want appointments with people, then you're going to have the opt-in in the box, and it's going to go to a qualifier, okay? And I have done those as well for some of my high-ticket affiliate products. For one of my high-ticket products, it sends them to a page that has a bunch of questions. And really those questions tell me whether, their answers to the questions tell me whether they're truly a qualified prospect or not, okay? And depending on their answers, then they will get to a scheduling page. Okay, so they'll have the option to schedule an appointment with me for a sales call, okay, or a strategy call, or whatever you want to call your sales call, your sales call. But so these are two different options of sales funnels. The first one is really simple. If you look at mine, that's all it is right now. So you can go and do that. You can create your whatever you want to offer here, right? On my page, it's the newsletter. You could offer, let's say five questions to ask when choosing a caregiver for your aging relative. That could be an opt-in. And then on this page, you're telling them to go back. When they come and they download it, okay, when they come to this download page, you can even have another offer there for a paid item, for your book, for example, or for a course, or for a membership site. There's all sorts of ways that you can do this, but this is kind of the general idea. So this applies to almost everything that you see online. Everybody is doing this. You can do this with WordPress sites. I use ClickFunnels because it is easier. It's not cheap. It's anywhere from $97 to $297 a month, okay? But it's extraordinary. And so if you've got the ability to use, to cover that overhead every month, it's amazing. You can do it for free, almost free, through WordPress. But do I use Lead Pages? No, I use ClickFunnels, which is a competitor to Lead Pages. Oh, okay. Yeah. So I'm aware of Lead Pages. I just prefer ClickFunnels. Yeah, I do. And I also recommend the guy who started it. His name is Russell Brunson. And he's written 2 books that I highly recommend if you want to get clear on how to sell your information, your ideas, creating membership sites, positioning yourself as an expert who can serve people. 2 books in particular. One is called .com Secrets, which is an older book, but still just as valid. It's the same principles. And then the other one is called Expert Secrets. Excellent, excellent books. Yes?
When she said lead pages, is that the same as a landing page?
So Lead Pages is the name of a company that does the same thing as ClickFunnels. Both of them do landing pages. Yes. Okay, so basically you're going to these different sequences are accompanied with email and or a Facebook Messenger bot. If you have a Facebook page, you can use what's called a messenger bot. They are free or very low cost, and basically it's like setting up what's called an autoresponder. An autoresponder is a series of emails that you send out when somebody subscribes. Let's say the first day when somebody subscribes, you're going to give them a report, right? For example. So they opt in, they go, you get the thank you page, they go to their email, they download, then they download that thing. The next day, you're going to send them something else. And the point of this sequence is it's called an indoctrination sequence. You're really trying to educate them on why they should do business with you. Now, it doesn't have to be direct. It doesn't have to be buy my stuff. In fact, I don't recommend, generally speaking, that your first emails are buy my stuff, because you kind of want to have kind of a more subtle approach, okay? And even when you're doing social media marketing, the 80-20 rule works. The 80-20 rule works for email marketing. It works for pretty much anything where 80% you should lead with value, with something that people can get from you that is of value, whether they pay you or not. So that 20%, you can have offers, but 80%, kind of keep that ratio, generally speaking. But with these email sequences, I generally recommend that people have a 5 to 7 day email sequence that's going to start letting people know your story. Maybe your personal story, your business, epiphany that you had, and all that kind of stuff. And it kind of brings them through so that by day 5 or day 6, day 7, they're now ready to buy something from you. And it's okay to have a link in those other emails, but it needs to be kind of subtle, okay? So, and all of this really is, and so again, we're talking about leverage. All of these things are things that are going out at night or during the day. You set them up, and they're going out, automatically. So you've got 2 different kinds of emails. You've got the autoresponder messages, and then you've got broadcast messages that you send out, kind of live. But the autoresponder messages are just going out, are pre-programmed to go out at a particular time. So it's kind of cool that we're able to do that. And all of this is done through the lens of what I call micromedia marketing. It's really, all it is, it's like a kingdom message. It's a lens through which you do things. It's not an actual, whatever. It's just a way to think of it to empower you to do what God has called you to do. So it's really production, publishing, marketing, micromedia company. You just think of it as honoring what you're doing, really taking it seriously and not thinking, oh, well, it's just blah, blah, blah. Yeah, okay. So, okay, I got just a few more pages. So basically with micromedia marketing, what you're doing is you're going deep into a niche. There's a concept called the long tail. And the long tail, there's a book called The Long Tail that came out, kind of explaining how with Google searches or any kind of searches these days, when you had a long tail, a very long phrase, let's say, for example, let me give you 2 comparisons. One is dog food, okay? That would be just a regular search phrase. A long tail search phrase might be organic, vegetarian, dog food from Asia. I don't know, something, I'm not sure you'd want that. But there's all sorts of different things that you can put in, and the people who put in those long tail keywords, those longer phrases, they are a more qualified prospect. There are fewer of them, but they are more ready to buy. They are more ready to listen to what you have to say. So it's pretty cool. So that's the long tail. Then there's the concept of the flat earth. So not getting into cosmology issues of how the earth was created or what shape it is. The concept of flat earth in marketing is that all these countries that we felt were so far away and how are we going to reach them? We are all connected through the business world, through the marketing world, through media, through social media, through video, all that kind of stuff. And so we now have easy access to connecting with people in other countries. And so really, again, it's all about that leverage. And there are many ways to do it. And you're going to test, you're going to track, you're going to analyze, you're going to tweak, you're going to relaunch, and you're going to repeat. And that's the thing about marketing online that you couldn't do in newspapers. When somebody does a newspaper ad, okay, you're sending them somewhere. You could track it if you set up a unique URL for that particular ad, but that can become cumbersome as you do more and more ads. When you're doing advertising online, you can track so well. You can see how people respond. If you have a Facebook page and people are, clicking or not clicking, you can see in the analytics that Facebook provides, you can see where they're dropping off. You can kind of tell why you're not getting reach if you take the time to analyze, and YouTube also has that. So there are some keys that I want to share. So one is your profile matters and your feed on the different platforms. And they are a little bit different in what's allowed, where links are allowed. In Instagram, for example, you don't have links generally in your posts. If you're an advertiser, there are things you can do. If you get a certain size of audience, you can. But most of us have profiles where you only get one link. So that link, and that'll be in your profile, so that link matters. Where do you want people to go? Are you going to send them to, let's say, if you're with a network marketing company, are you going to send them straight to a network marketing company's page? Let's say you sell CBD oil or skincare or whatever it is. If you send them directly to that without making them go through your doorway, you've probably lost them. You want to make people jump through a hoop. Many people won't, and that's just fine. They're not your prospect. They wouldn't have been anyhow. So give people hoops to jump through, because those qualifying hoops will help you get a better quality of lead. So your profile matters. Each platform has different things, that you're allowed to do, and different things that are going to matter to that audience on that platform. Secondly, social media changes all the time. Get used to it. Don't worry about the fact that you don't know how to get the best reach today. You can learn. It's no big deal. It's going to change. Once you learn, it's going to change again. So don't worry about it. Just start using it and start learning, and then start getting used to tracking. Take a screen capture of how many friends or how many followers you have today. Then start noting, I posted, a picture, I posted an article, I got this kind of reach. Start tracking these things and use these things like a real business person should do. Truly testing, tracking, and seeing, if your results are commensurate with the effort that you think you're putting into it. These things do take time. You could spend an awful lot of time in social media thinking you're in social media. Yeah, I'm doing social media marketing, and you're actually not. You're just spending a lot of time just, kind of treading water, because you're not actually looking at the kind of, you're not being deliberate about the kinds of things you're posting, or you're posting things that are against what your actual goals are, and so you're just making it harder on yourself to get the reach that you want. So just get used to the fact that it's going to change all the time. Also, use social media. Don't just let it use you. Okay, so those are just really important to consider, so that you are not wasting all your time in social media and thinking that you're actually doing it. 4, lead with vision, not features or benefits alone. Simon Sinek has a good TED Talk, I think it is, or Sinek, I don't know how he says his name, but it's called Start With Why. It's a really good video. It's on YouTube as well, and TED's site. But it's really good, and people really want to resonate with your vision, not just your product and your services, the features and benefits. People want to connect to your dream, to your goal of what you're doing. So with Dr. Teresa's skincare, that the fact that not only does it have the glory oil in it, but the people that she's trying to reach through the combined efforts, all this, the great vision that she has for equipping kingdom-minded believers in all of these different things is going to make a difference in things. And, sometimes you don't think it's going to be much, but when Toms came out, those Toms shoes, people weren't doing like a price comparison on the shoe. What they were buying into was that vision of you buy one pair and you give another one to somebody else. So again, you don't always know, but if you've got something that's unique, a unique vision, then use that and lead with that. And if you don't, get one, okay? My vision is to raise up an army of kingdom-minded entrepreneurs and business owners and ministry leaders who are not afraid and will leverage social media and emerging technologies. So as things change, I want to be at the forefront of that. I want to let you know when there are great experts coming out, training on the newest things. So use a direct response lens for all content. Direct response is the direct response marketing is a marketing with a specific goal. It's always marketing with, you're kind of selling the very next action. When you're marketing, let's say you're doing a Facebook Live, for example, your goal when you go into the Facebook Live, if you're going to make an offer, and a lot of the times you should have some kind of subtle offer, even if it's just to opt in for your newsletter or to, whatever it is. But you need to go into that Facebook Live with a clear objective and have a specific thing that you want people to respond to. So direct response lens, that idea that you're going to sell the next click, sell the next action, is really important for effective content. The next thing is authenticity versus transparency. You do not owe people transparency. You owe them authenticity. Let me explain the difference. Authenticity is presenting yourself who you really are, okay? Transparency is letting them know everything about you. You do not owe people to tell them the reason for your divorce. You don't owe it to them to tell them how your kid misbehaved yesterday, okay? You don't owe people to know all of your struggles and your difficulties, but what you do share should be true, okay? It should convey an accurate picture of who you are and who God's called to be. There is a difference between faking it and faithing it, okay? I am not today where I'm going to be 5 years from now. I don't present myself as where I'm going to be 5 years from now, but I am stepping into who I am as that person who's becoming that person, over the next 5-10 years. So just remember, you do owe people authenticity, you do not owe them transparency. And so be wise about that. Also, quality over quantity. With Facebook likes for your page, you could go on a site called Fiverr.com, Fiverr, okay? And you could hire somebody to get you 100 page likes, okay, so that you can get the URL you want or whatever. The problem with hiring people to do those is that the Facebook algorithm now sees that you have people who liked your page who actually are not interested in it. So let's say, for example, you hire somebody who's in the Philippines, and there are lots of wonderful Filipino workers. But let's say for people who do like farms and this kind of work, maybe 1 minute they're liking your page, which is about being an author, for example. And the next minute they're liking, and people have lots of different interests, and that's fine. But let's say the next thing they're going to do is they're going to have 100 people liking dog pictures, okay? In the algorithm, that person is not necessarily going to help you. It's not going to give you the right kind of exposure. Facebook wants to see that the people who like your page, they're not just people who have given you a mercy like, so to speak, They're people who are going to eventually, at some point, be engaged with your page. So there's no obligation when you like a page, but it does not help you as a business owner to get fake likes, even if they're well-intentioned friends, okay? Let's see, controversy and polarization. I recommend it. Don't shy away from it, but do it right. Polarization is wonderful because It activates really the algorithms because you get lots of comments, both positive and negative. And don't be afraid of negative comments. They're fine. It's not a big deal. Actually, it shows Facebook that people are bothering to have an opinion, you know. So most of the time it actually helps you. Even on YouTube, it can help to have negative comments, which you wouldn't think of. You know, you can delete ones that are crude or whatever. All of the stuff I've got set to review it before I'm going to post it. But it's okay to have negative comments. You just want to see that there's activity. Attraction marketing is really important, and I'd say to those of you specifically in network marketing that you need to really be familiar with the concept of attraction marketing. Attraction marketing is where you are putting out content that makes you knowable, likable, trustable, where people like you, that they believe that you are an expert. You're not just out there spamming your link, buy my stuff, you know. So there's a gazillion people selling CBD oil or skincare or, leggings. What are you going to do to be unique? How are you going to position yourself differently and attract the right people rather than, chasing friends and family all the time? It's amazing what people can do in the network marketing industry, which could be very powerful if people would use it properly. But most people are trained to use it very poorly, and it becomes very aggravating, and people stop watching what you have to do. So do it right from the beginning. If content is king, frequency and relevancy are queen. So just think about all of these different things: content, your frequency, and your relevancy. And I would say prize quality over quantity. Video matters increasingly, especially live. So it's just going to be increasingly important. Optimize for mobile. That's going to be the most important place to optimize for. Test content types and posting times. Know what matters to your audience. The highest traffic occurs midweek between 1 to 3 p.m., okay? But on another note, a Facebook post at 7 p.m. will result in more clicks on average than posting at 8 p.m. So it just depends. You have the potential to reach more customers or consumers and drive higher traffic to your site during peak usage time, but people may be more likely to be engaged in the evenings. So it just really depends, and you have to do that kind of testing. Nobody can tell you what's going to work. On Thursdays and Fridays, engagement is 13% higher. There are 83 million fake profiles. Nothing's perfect, so just remain thoughtful and strategic. And fake or not, these are potential customers, so don't worry about it. There's all sorts of different reasons for fake profiles. Sometimes it's professionals testing stuff out and doing research, or people who want to segment their Facebook audience. It doesn't matter. But there are over 300 million photo uploads per day on Facebook. 300 million. And every 60 seconds on Facebook, 510,000 comments are posted. 293,000 statuses are updated and 136,000 photos are updated. The implication is really that there's lots of engaged and active users, but there's a lot of information competing for their attention, so quality and strategy matter. So if you're not having the results that you want, go back and look at your strategies. You can create books and courses from your content. If you do Facebook Lives, plan a 10-day Facebook Live around 10 chapters that you want to write about a book. Use that to develop content and multi-purpose it, okay? There's a Thinkific is a great platform to do courses on. It's very, very low cost, and that can be a great way of leveraging the content that you provide in one platform and then selling it somewhere else. AI is going to increase, learn as you go. Social media is based on artificial intelligence. It's all built on it. And so it's programmed, educated guesses based on massive amounts of data, and that's what's presented to you. On my phone, I've got a sleep app, and I noticed that my phone doesn't present it to me as an automatic option in the morning, but it does at night. So my phone is learning these different things. My email autoresponder service has an option to send at the right time. Based on what the email opener, when do they usually open their email? Like, how do they know? I don't know, but you can do it. It's cool. Netflix movie suggestions are all based on what do you watch. So these things are going to be increasingly. And as I wind down, I want to remind you that in the kingdom, not all marketing strategies are compatible with a kingdom perspective. So there's, a friend of mine was talking recently about a taste and see trial period or preview. I thought that was a great idea. You can reverse risk with guarantees. That's a great idea. Limited time offers can be super helpful in creating action, but limited quantity offers can be good or bad. If you are saying that there's only 10 downloadable whatever, and really you could do millions of them, that's not appropriate. So just remember that people matter most. In a kingdom business, people always matter most. So where you begin with social media is you create your micro media company, and that just means you're going to be thinking about these things. You're going to think about your audience. Who do you serve? You're going to think about what problem do you solve? You're going to pick a platform. You're going to create your profiles. You're going to think about what content you're going to put out. You're going to create a sales funnel, create email autoresponder sequences, chatbots. You can do ads. There's all sorts of things you can do. And long term, remember to maintain your own site. You don't own Facebook. They can shut you off at any time. So though you don't need to start with a website, you do need to have one, and you do need to always also host your content there as much as possible. And long term, just think of this as your own TV, radio, publishing company, and don't think small, but you're not competing with CNN and HarperCollins, and just test, track, analyze, tweak, relaunch, and repeat. And so there's no more being stopped by overwhelm or confusion or ignorance. Use the leverage of social media. Your competitor is, your fellow pastor is, your grandma is, you should too. As kingdom entrepreneurs, we contend for our mountain, for our territory, for our sphere. Then we conquer, we take dominion. Then we occupy. We keep that territory through our excellence and stewardship. Then we multiply as God blesses our work. That's the kingdom way. And micromedia marketing and publishing companies can do that quickly and profitably. So do the research, do the work, or hire my company, but get started now. God has given you all the time you need to do what you need to do to advance what God has called you to do every day, okay? So who's going to be more deliberate with social media? Anybody? Okay. Well, if you want help, come see me. Come pick up my two-page flyer. Sign up, call me, message me, whatever. Yes, did you have a question? Yes.
I think it might help several people in the room if
Yes.
they're not familiar with affiliate marketing.
Yes.
And how it might help them earn an extra $100, $200 a month.
Yep.
Even if they don't have their own information product.
And that might cover their costs to start doing some of these things as well. Yep.
Could you maybe give a little bit more explanation for somebody who has no clue?
Yeah, depending on your market, there's a place called ClickBank, and they have lots and lots of affiliate products. And so you can start marketing, somebody else's products. But again, you're still going to need to create some of these things. Now, the service that I use is called GetResponse for email marketing, and they do have an option to create a sales funnel. That is only $15 a month, okay? Now, you only get, I think, one page that you can create, but you could start on a bare bones budget. You could start without ClickFunnels. You could start with GetResponse and create one of these sequences. So you could start for $15 a month. So that's pretty good. And then you could integrate a product that you pick from, let's say, ClickBank. If you're in skincare, or let's say you're in fashion and you have a skincare line and you're going to target the mommy bloggers, or you're going to target the over 50 women, you can find products on ClickBank. They're all information products, but they're all talking about, let's say, how to have beautiful skin in 10 days, or how to put together your wardrobe as a woman over 50, or, there's all sorts of things that people will pay $20 to $100 to get this information. And it's all information that somebody could get, by Googling or looking on YouTube. All of my content you could find for yourself. All of the stuff that I've learned over the years, I learned by, taking courses. I did spend a lot of money taking courses and getting coaching and all that kind of stuff. But you can find this information, but buying courses and buying other people's experience can shortcut that learning curve for you.
You mentioned GetResponse. Something that, as a nonprofit industry, we have a large GetResponse for a nonprofit is half price.
Wow.
So not only do I agree with your choice of GetResponse is an email management company.
Right.
Where people log on and create their email list and have this funnel. But for a ministry or a nonprofit, it's half price. So they're already very competitive on price, but I use them heavily
Thank you.
nonprofit.
Yep.
I'll look at the nonprofits, it's even better, it's a 50% nonprofit discount.
That's great.
And I throw that in. to
That's
say,
good to know. Thank
I
you.
totally agree, plus, for half of these people, it's a great bargain.
Yeah, not only that, there a lot of people use MailChimp, and I don't recommend it because as you grow, MailChimp has some limitations. They don't like marketers. And so if you decide to go in another direction, then you got to move your email list somewhere else. And I think GetResponse, Aweber, the autoresponder that's in ClickFunnels, those are services that can be really helpful. So any other questions before I close in prayer? No? Okay. Well, Father, I just pray for everyone here. Lord, I thank you that you've given us incredible tools, Father. I pray that we don't allow the enemy to be the only one using them. I pray that we don't allow people with evil plans to be the only ones using it effectively. Father, I pray that we would be at the front of technology changes and that we would use wisdom there, Father, that we'd not be afraid, that we would ask for your Holy Spirit to give us discernment and wisdom on how, when, and if to use them. But Father, I pray that we would not shrink back out of fear. Lord, I pray that you would equip everybody here for them to know how to use these social media platforms effectively. And I just bless everyone. I pray for everyone's businesses, Father. I pray that you would bless them, that you would multiply the work of their hands and give them great harvests. I ask this in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you. That was wonderful. I think I took more notes on this session than I have all the rest of them because there's a lot of information there that she was giving us that you're not going to find anywhere else. I don't think.